Recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to REVA's Electrifying News November edition 2025. With me, as always, my two counterparts. We have Mr. Eric Stevens joining us from the Listowel area. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, Mark. Trying to keep warm in this little early onset of winter we're getting here, but we're doing okay.
Welcome to winter. The snow is flying already. Hopefully, we won't get too much snow, but you never know. You never know. With us, as always, it's the snowman, Mr. Ian Graham, joining us from Kitchener. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, no, I'm done with it already. Yesterday was fine, sure, but yeah, I'm done. I'm off to Mexico come January, so I'm looking already to how can I bump this up?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, let's get Ian to start up the deck and we can talk electrifying news today.
All right, here we go. We'll start off with our first subject is in regards to the Ontario plant that is being done and is not for EVs. It's actually for battery storage.
Exactly. Now, Stellantis had announced that they were going to be in a partnership with LG and create a NextStar Energy, and that was going to create EV batteries at the time where it was announced. But as we have noticed during this tariff world and the topsy-turvy world of what's happening to EVs at this time, Stellantis has announced that although the battery factory is built and it is starting to produce already, they are going to be pivoting so that they are producing batteries for stationary storage, which they believe will be an easier sell for those battery units. There is a shortage of batteries when it comes to stationary storage, so this should fill a slot for them and allow them to move batteries quickly and effectively. We uh, we know that with this start and stop of battery cars, that the supply chain has been disrupted in multiple areas, and one of those is the supply of batteries for those EVs. So Stellantis and LG, which is this NextStar Energy Group, is deciding that they'll pivot to stationary storage for now, and they should have a smoother transition for selling the batteries at the price they believe they can get and keeping the profitability of the plant at a stable amount so that they can continue producing and down the road things may change.
Yeah, I think this is a great pivot to see actually, given the circumstances. Obviously, the Dodge Charger EV, didn't sell as well as anticipated and didn't take off as well as anticipated. And also, Stellantis was looking at building the Jeep Compass EV in Brampton, and that has been put on hold as well too, given the current circumstances. And this factory here, the Nexstar Energy facility, would have fed batteries for those vehicles. But they have the capacity here, and grid tied storage is a market today that is growing very quickly as well. So it's good to see that they pivot this capacity. And Stellantis has even mentioned that this is a medium term pivot. They do intend to go back to being producing electric vehicles in the future. But seeing that this capacity go to use to, you know, progressing ourselves, towards the future is still good. So
Yeah. I it's interesting too, like I see a lot more happening with the home battery energy storage advertisements. And then of course I think it's $5,000 potentially with solar in Ontario government talking about helping with incentives in that respect. And it's still an area that is I don't think a lot of people are they're curious about it, but nothing's really grabbed hold that it's a common thing. There's a lot of inquiry into this, where the storage aspect for the home. So we need something like this. This is great if we have this right in our backyard. In terms of the EV aspect of it, it's hard to say, where this is going to go. The Stellantis and the Jeep and everything in that respect. I have a good friend of mine who is waiting for the full electric Jeep to come out because he always loved Jeeps and not just sort of this sort of plug-in hybrid version. So I always feel like they're kind of like always hesitant, holding back on this full electrification aspect of things. So this is just kind of another one of those, we're not too sure, on all that.
Yeah,
Um,
at least it keeps the jobs and the people that are there
yeah,
working,
yes.
and the plant can continue to produce and at least get a few years under its belt to confirm that the market exists for their product and at least to have a plan. This pivot plan seems like a solid plan to move forward and build upon.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
matures that manufacturing, improves the learn how and knowledge base here in Ontario and how producing and manufacturing batteries. We still have the plant in St. Thomas that's coming too from Volkswagen. And having that synergies and having a couple facilities that are up and running and moving and making
Hmm.
stuff, it starts to build that knowledge base, builds up the supplier base around it as well too, and starts
Hmm.
spurring new ideas and creativity as well too here. So at least it starts to form the foundation of that base knowledge that we need to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And as we go through our podcast today, I think our audience will start to understand with some of our other subjects as we go along. This is, as you say, Eric, a foundation which is only going to grow from the other stories that we're bringing up today as well. All right. And this would be one of those stories.
Yeah, so there's, obviously, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme going on later in the episode too that we talk about, but obviously with the, current administration in the United States and the elimination of the $7,500 tax credit they had here in Canada, we've lost our $5,000 federal rebate here as well too. EV sales have obviously have dampened a bit in both the United States and Canada as a result of that. And so you see a lot of the press and you see a lot of the news today, and there's a lot of doom and gloom around EVs here in North America. And I think that's unfortunate because if you look at the rest of the world, things are moving.
Mhm.
Things are still going, things are still growing, and we're seeing a proliferation of lower cost EVs starting to hit the market now, especially coming out of places like China. But they're starting to get into many different places in the world. And here, this is an article talking about how, even in countries like Ethiopia and Nepal, I have colleagues in the Philippines that also now drive electric. In fact, the exact car pictured there is a BYD Dolphin. In that exact color, I have a colleague that drives a car just like it. So we're seeing that these cars are starting to proliferate into other countries. And I think, one of the things that we're seeing here is many of these countries don't have a heavily developed even fossil fuel infrastructure necessarily. They have fossil fuel infrastructure, but it's not well in depth. So a lot of people are there, the jump to go to an EV probably not be as big. And the car culture is just starting to grow in many of these countries, and they're starting to get into vehicle electrification at an earlier state. The change, in North America, we have all this infrastructure and we have all this entire mindset, and that mindset doesn't necessarily exist as in depth as it is in some of these other areas. So I think that's where EVs have the potential to take off and get into the culture there.
Mhm.
I noticed that our friend and colleague Brian White from the Futuraza channel,
Mhm.
he actually went to Nepal for about a week and was looking at the electrification that was happening there and the jump forward that's happened within the past 7 years. And it's been quite a transformation, as many different EVs are now available in the country, whereas about 7 years ago there was nothing. So some of these smaller nations have grabbed the EV revolution by the horns and have jumped into it completely because they believe that it's the future. And as Eric has said, these are these are other nations in the world that have decided that this is the path they're on based on what they've seen happen already in Europe and other places and have decided that this is it and they're going for it. And it's remarkable to see the quick transformation of these type of countries almost in an overnight type of sequence as these companies start to ship EVs to these nations.
Mhm. So there are three things that come to my mind about all of this stuff. First off, is I'm thinking the charging infrastructure is going to grow massively within these countries. You're going to see a lot happening in that respect. The charging at home is also going to take off that much more. And then the third thing I'm thinking is, again, how much solar for the people who have homes that can do this as well. Like you're talking a pretty major transformation with all of this aspect of things. And the other aspect about it is the fact, again, China's getting in there, probably like BYD, as I see in Mexico, there's now BYD dealerships. But I really feel like, Canada, US, they're missing these opportunities on a major level, and never underestimate the smaller, aspects, smaller economies, because suddenly that could boom. And I think that's what's going to be happening with all of this as well. And we missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly a big potential there if we don't start focusing on it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, it gives me another reason to consider visiting some of these countries. And like you say about Brian going to see some of this stuff, Brian did that with Mexico as well, showing, the different sort of EVs that are coming in as well. So I find it interesting that he's gone to these countries now to check this out too. All right. So, speaking of solar, this is something that when I go to Mexico, I'm like scratching my head looking at these huge parking lots, like, because there is Walmart, Home Depot, like Costco, there's all these places in Mexico now. And this is another huge opportunity for Mexico to still consider doing this, but the solar in South Korea, and I have a friend who's looking soon to be living full time in South Korea with his wife. So I sent him this article. I'm still waiting to hear back from him, but I think this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a great, the idea is that any open parking space with more than 80 spaces now is going to be mandated to have solar installed, and not just on new build, but even retrofitting as well, too. They're going to expect people to retrofit their parking with this as well. So this is an interesting law, and it'd be interesting to see how the people there take this. There's always some concerns about, some people might complain and say, well, this doesn't work in North America because of snow loading or anything like that. But they get snow there too in South Korea as well. So, I mean, this is, it'd be interesting to see how this responds. And I certainly think that there's a good potential for this. And I would like to see, would this exact legislation work here in Canada? I don't know. Forcing people to do that is tricky. But at the same time, there's maybe some lessons to learn and maybe some direction we can start pushing and encouraging people to go into. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, this is about South Korea, but I see this as a perfect fit for Canada, and we've seen some of it even up in the university area of Waterloo, where
Mhm.
a few of these installations have been installed and are contributing to the grid for just parking lots taking up space. VCT Group here in Waterloo Kitchener is a group that has installed these type of structures here locally, and in fact, one of the installations that was put in place now must be 7 years old, 6 years old, up in the university area. There's two of them up there, two separate ones, but it contributes to making the building that it's attached to zero emissions. So it's actually collecting enough power from the sun to power the entire office building, all three floors, and the businesses within. So I understand that some parking lot people may be upset about something like this mandating them, but really they get to benefit from this as well. Yes, there's a cost to start, but if you're going to hold that parking lot for any amount of time, it's going to contribute to your income for that parking lot as well, because the power collected is yours and it can connect to the grid and you can be paid for it. So this is a win. Anybody with a parking lot should be considering this anywhere in the world that gets sun, which
Mhm.
is all of them.
Yeah. And the thing is too, during the summer, that pavement gets pretty darn hot, and it actually helps to contribute to more of. I'm not even sure what the word is, but it's basically you're making the area overall that much hotter. And this, instead will just kind of block that out. And actually, you use, I would imagine, less air conditioning for the buildings around you, and also then you're running the air conditioning, everything with the solar on this aspect as well. The one thing I was interested is when I was reading that yes, South Korea does get snow as well. I don't know their climate very well. I'm curious to see what their lowest temperature is and how much snow they get. But how does that work with the snow as it comes down to remove it from where the cars are either going in or coming out? And that aspect of things. Are we going to get the Roomba of snowblowers coming through and cleaning this out as well? But I think again, Mark, to your point, like this is a no-brainer, really. And Canada, I think, has a huge opportunity to do something like this as well. It's not just whenever time I hear someone say, "Oh, well, with the snow and the winter," how often does that really happen now?
And as you two know, having solar yourselves,
Yep,
when the snow falls, guess what? The underlying color is black. It attracts
Mm.
the sun, and
yeah,
eventually, in no time, the snow just slides off of it
it's
because it,
on.
it it heats up and the snow moves off with the slant of the roof, or in this case, this parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've had a couple pretty good snow avalanches going on. So yeah.
It just cleans your panels nicely.
Yes. Yes.
Takes all that, summer dirt off.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is the new 2026 Nissan Ariya coming into
Yes,
Canada.
the Ariya has been announced that it will be in Canada for 2026. It was already here previously, but there was a nice price drop that happened with Nissan with this vehicle. And again, this is part of the tariff slash EV restructuring that's going on here in North America. It was actually removed from the United States list of places that the car was going to be delivered to, and they took it off the list for the US and added to what we get here in Canada. And as mentioned, we got a bit of a price drop in the vehicle compared to last year, somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 on different trims. And the vehicle is a great addition to what people here in Canada are looking for in an EV with a utility type vehicle with a hatch. And that seems to be all the rage here in Canada. There's a bazillion of them on the road, gasoline and now EV. And this is going to add nicely to what Canada has to offer people who are looking for this type of small, medium-sized SUV to be on the roads. It also, unlike the Leaf of old. This obviously has a liquid-cooled battery, and it also has the NACS connector, so it can plug into the Tesla supercharging network if you wish to do so on longer trips. So this is a plus, and it becomes another tool in the EV chest that can be used here in Canada, and I look forward to seeing more of them on the road. I already have one neighbor that owns one of these, so it's great to see them starting to show up.
Yeah, the Aria is a great vehicle. I personally do like it a lot. I seeing a price decrease in this is great. Although it'll be interesting because there's a new 2026 Nissan Leaf out, which is actually built in the same architecture as the Aria. It's just a little bit more of a fastback sedan kind of version over the Aria, which is more crossover-ish. But they're the same basic fundamental architecture. And pricing wise, this price decrease of the Aria now starts to get pretty close in price to that 2026 Leaf as well too. So that's kind of interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how these vehicles slot in the marketplace. Now, one thing though that this touches upon does touch there was something about this that touched upon a nerve of mine as well too. Was that when this article first came out, you saw it plastered all over the place. The Aria is dead. And you see these news articles all over the place. The Ariya is dead. The Ariya is dead. It's dead in the U.S.
Yeah.
And that's because of certain geopolitical consequences that's happening there. But the Ariya is still alive. It's still well. The big challenge, of course, it's made in Japan, and there are certain individuals with orange spray tans who are picking fights with Japan, and uh, so the U.S.'s loss is our gain, and I hope to see more of these gains as well too, not just in the area, but hopefully in other vehicles from around the world that start to find their way to the Canadian marketplace.
Yeah. The one thing I caught me with this is, Canada being known as SUV, truck market, but if we go to the SUV market, this really suits, I think, so many people that would go for an SUV that may not want to go with a Tesla Model Y. And it's just one more option. I mean, GM's got some great options now, as you know, with the Equinox and that. And I think that this price goes head to head with the gas aspect of it, because when you start showing them the cost savings, this price and then your cost savings with no oil changes, the whole charge at home aspect of things for dirt cheap. This is, I think, a lovely, mom SUV, if you want to say, drive the kids around, everything. And it's great to see that. I think Nissan's, I might be kind of a somewhat of a hit, if you want to say, for Canada. And, who knows what may change then for the US. It's too bad that, because this is another vehicle I think that would do really well in the US if we didn't have the orange spray who, lovely acknowledges the Japanese female prime minister, the first one, but anyways,
Yeah.
it's no, it's great to see this.
Yeah, the C segment crossover, which the Ariya sits in, is easily one of the most popular vehicle segments in Canada. So
Yeah,
it sits squarely in that with competition vehicles like the Tesla Model Y or the
yeah,
Chevrolet Equinox EV. These are all C segment crossovers that are hitting square in the middle of the market, where
yeah.
a lot of people like to buy.
I was happy to see they finally did thermal battery management, because that was the one area with Nissan I was just kind of always scratching my head, is like, as long as you guys have been around with the EV, with the Leaf and everything else, how are you not learning? You got to do this, you
Yeah.
know? It,
And this vehicle has a very flat DC fast charging curve as well too. It doesn't throttle too much. So
yeah,
its peak charging rate is about 130 kilowatt, but it can hold that pretty much almost to 80%. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
it still charges reasonably quick.
yeah, yeah. So, all right, it's very cool. It's not just the Bolt.
Yeah. So I brought this story to light for a few reasons. One is I wanted to highlight that there is a new set of low cost EVs that are coming to the market. And I highlighted General Motors here because, General Motors was one of the first companies in North America to try to bring an affordable vehicle to market. The Bolt EV, of course, has been a beloved vehicle by many, including myself and a number of other people. It was a good entry level EV. It was an excellent, for its time, it was an entry level EV. And General Motors has now coming back with a 2027 Bolt that's going into production in the spring in their Fairfax, Kansas plant. And, it's going to be less than $40,000 here in Canada. Still a very capable vehicle. It'll have a heat pump. It'll have much better DC fast charging. They went and addressed all the concerns they had in the first gen Bolt and updated it. But they've also come out and mentioned that the Bolt is going to be a limited time car. And what they mean by that is General Motors has a new low cost architecture coming soon. And this new low cost architecture won't be one vehicle, but it'll be a family of vehicles that are coming out. So I think with the tax credits gone and facing competition from international areas like Chinese automakers, many of these companies know that this is coming and they need to come out with options that hit, more square in the market today. They're not $60,000-$70,000 vehicles, but now getting to that, in Canada, the $40,000 price point, $30,000 price point in the US, and even potentially even a bit less than that. And Ford has even announced they're coming out with their $30,000 US mid-sized electric truck as well too. So,
Hmm.
the car companies identify, they see that there's a need out there, obviously, to bring up more affordable options, especially now that the subsidies have gone away. And now also that, there's a strong threat from Chinese automakers eventually going to find their way into the marketplace.
Hmm.
So seeing this coming and seeing this happening to me is very good. It means the revolution is getting there, and we're hitting the mainstream now.
Yeah, it's going to be a plus to have a family of low cost EVs. How many times have we said that people's number one concern with the EV is the upfront cost and how it's it was considerably more than a gasoline equivalent car. So having in Canada being able to be at the 40,000 mark is certainly going to allow the adoption of EVs for another segment that currently feels left out because of the prices of, 55, $65,000 cars just are not an option. So it makes sense that GM and others, there's a huge market available to them. All they have to do is get in with the price within those crosshairs of a lower amount, and they can enjoy a bunch of new customers.
Yeah. And this is where I do a complete 180 after what I said about Nepal and Ethiopia. Um, when I then saw this article, and as you mentioned as well about Ford, um, it's not like these automakers are just putting their head in the sand by any means. But it's good to see that they are looking, that they have to compete with the Chinese EVs, which technically are pretty phenomenal in a lot of respects. But the other big aspect about all of this stuff is that the battery aspect of things has been developed in such a way now that we're not talking about 10-year-old battery technology. Everything has changed so much with the battery management aspect of things, the chemistry of it, and all those things are now, making the batteries are getting cheaper as well. And now GM, Ford, etc., can start looking at making these vehicles in such a way for that, so to speak, next generation of people who wanted to get an EV, and price was always sort of the hindrance. And also maybe some of the other concerns as well, like how much range are we getting? How long do the batteries last? We hear all those things now as well. Tesla just announced they have now a 12-year warranty on their batteries, not 8 anymore. So, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and I think all the other companies can do the same thing as well. We're seeing that these things last. And so I think this is kind of that point where GM, Ford, and all the other big guys, we have to do this and we can do this because the technology's there, and we can still, do well with something like this and offer the market something that's going to be affordable for a lot of people. So, all right. So for our last topic of tonight, it got me thinking a little bit about everything that is going on. And I wanted to sort of bring up a few little points. One was, if you look at the bottom left, this Elojoy, it just started this week on Kickstarter. And there is a YouTuber I know of. He's been around for a long time, and he just he's one of the trial people doing this. And not only Tesla, it says turn your Tesla into a home power backup. It's actually able to do this with CCS as well. He's waiting to hear more about this. But basically, if you didn't want to get a power wall or a hole into the whole battery bank, but you've got this car sitting in your driveway, this device, as of right now, it's about 1900 US. Will charge your car, but also will work with your car's battery that if the power does go out, it will feed your home. Now we do know that Ford has this, the Cybertruck has this, GM of course, in that respect. But now you're getting to other components with the system. This is sort of like an all-in-one type of deal, and I think for cost effectiveness, this is really really good. So this got me into thinking is that a few weeks ago, renewables surpassed coal in terms of the power aspect of not using coal and instead being completely offset with renewables, with solar and with wind. We're seeing, India. I remember when India was talking a few years back about they were looking to consider going back to fossil fuels, and instead we're kind of encouraged like, no, keep looking at the solar, and they're now outpacing their growth with the demand aspect, and especially with this year, you can see there's a boom in that respect. And then, of course, China has installed 256 gigawatts of solar. The next closest gigawatts I think that I could see was 22 gigawatts. And like, because it says more than twice as much solar capacity as the rest of the world combined. I think the US was the next one at 22 gigawatts. So um, basically, as we keep growing, because this is all that's going to happen, is like you're just going to be looking at where do people sell natural gas or oil and gas in general, because so much of this is just going to be offset by more of the solar and wind. And of course, the other thing is the technology aspect that we're seeing. 15 years ago, that 210 watt panel mined $900, and now we're getting 700 watt bifacial for like pennies per watt. And it's becoming a no-brainer to do this. So the parking lots, is just another area that we're going to put all this in. I'm curious to see also with solar being integrated more into homes in such a way that you don't even really notice it as solar. It's actually kind of part of the whole roof, but integrated in such a way that you don't see it that way. It's just a roof. So I think, I'm bringing this up. I'm just thinking that I think we're on a real breaking point for the next few years. We're going to see a real boom going this way.
Yeah, I think we're on the brink of a bit of an energy revolution with being able to tie in solar with battery systems. And there's new battery systems coming out like sodium ion battery chemistries,
Hmm.
which once they're produced in scale are going to be very affordable and very excellent for grid tied storage applications. And then even seeing like these aftermarket solutions now where you have vehicle to grid options and people can use their car as a means of powering their home as well too as a backup. These systems integrations are becoming more and more integrated, becoming easier, and they're becoming lower cost.
Hmm.
So yes, I think we're on the cusp of a potential energy revolution here a little bit. We're
Our
now,
last our last podcast with California,
yeah,
all the along the parking spaces, bi-directional.
yeah,
Yeah, and this note about India, that they're now at a point where they're installing so much wind and solar power that they're outgrowing the growth demand in their grid. So that means that the industry, the actual energy producers in India have understood that this is the cheapest power they can get. The more they can add, the better for them. And at this point, they're actually outgrowing demand, which is fantastic because that means they're going to have some energy surplus. They'll be able to sell it to outside of India if they wish through transmission lines. And that we've seen that happen in Europe and other places where that just strengthens the overall grid because we've got many producers of the energy and at different times of the day and at different times in the year. Some are stronger, some are weaker, but if you bind them all together with transmission lines, you get a really strong energy network.
Hmm. And I'm hearing like CBC just recently talked about a satellite system that kind of redirecting the light and focusing it, and so that places that are even with nighttime have this sort of redirection of light to keep powering, panels and stuff. I mean, I don't want to say it's far-fetched. It can be done, but
I think I saw a Bond movie like that and it turned out real bad.
yeah. Yeah, get the shades on and sunglasses at night. But it is so, it's amazing, and having been involved with renewables for so long and watching this market and the technology is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Very good. So thanks so much, gentlemen, for bringing those stories. We'll put the stories as links in the notes down below. So if you'd like to go to those individual articles, you can. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we release a new video. And if you can do that, that would be certainly helpful, and we would appreciate that. Also, you can follow us on our X feed. WREVA Group is the call sign there. And you can see stories that we post in between these segments that we put out once a month. With that, let's go to a couple of shout outs. Ian, you have to be quick.
I have to be quick. Big shout out to the Blue Jays for an amazing season and what a run. And then, if you can see it behind me, my Rush 2112, but Rush is touring again. Goddamn Ticketmaster and their prices, though. But you know what? Kudos to Rush for getting Anika Niles. She's an amazing drummer. Phenomenal.
Eric, any shout outs?
Yes, I have Enviro Stewards based out of Elmira, Ontario, consulting firm. Got connected to them through our EV group, actually, our meeting in October. And they're a consulting firm that helps industry save energy, save money, save water. And they come into your facility and look at your processes and try to find a way to save. So
Fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next month.